Ataku had always been the pillar of her family. A woman in her early 40s, graceful, with silver hair, she commanded respect and affection from everyone around her. Having raised her 3 children on the busy streets of Lagos and seeing them grow into adulthood, she had a quiet satisfaction. Her eldest son, Keen, was her pride and joy, the firstborn son who married Ifoma, an energetic young woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind. It was Ifoma's warmth that had charmed Keen years ago when they had met at the university. Although she and Ataku had treated each other with respect, their relationship had never developed into the strong friendship that both had secretly hoped for. There was a mutual realization that they were, after all, 2 different women from different generations. Politeness and courtesies were always on the go, but no one ever went further than that. One evening, Ataku arrived to spend a week with her son and his wife after a minor surgery. The doctor had recommended rest and a few days of light activity. Ifoma took on the role of caregiver, doing everything with clear efficiency, preparing meals, making sure Ataku was comfortable, and ensuring the house was in order in Keen's absence. Keen, busy with work, believed that his wife and mother would coexist peacefully in his absence. But one quiet evening, the situation began to change. "Mommy, your legs must be aching after sitting for so long." "Let me give you a massage," Ioma suggested. Ataku, who was reading a book on the couch, smiled gratefully at her sister-in-law. "Thank you, dear. It would be a good idea. My legs are getting old." Ioma smiled, reaching for the lotion. She sat down next to her mother-in-law, placed Ataku's leg in her lap, and began to work her hands skillfully, gently kneading the tired muscles. They sat in silence at first, the familiar scent of lavender lotion wafting through the air. Ifoma's touch was firm but gentle, and Ataku couldn't help but close her eyes, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. "Ifoma, you're really Ataku. You should have become a pro massage therapist." Ioma laughed in relief. "I used to give Kenya massages when we first got married. He doesn't ask for it anymore." There was a pause as the conversation turned to something more personal. Ataku ducked her eyes slightly, sensing the vulnerability in Ifoma's voice. She turned her head to look at her sister-in-law and noticed something she hadn't noticed before: how beautiful Ifoma was. Her slender fingers moved with ease, and her face was full of concentration. There was a kind of gracefulness about her that Ataku took for granted. As Ifoma's hands rose to Ataku's calves, their eyes met for a moment. Something had changed. It was unspoken, but palpable. The touch lasted too long. Ifoma's hand, warm against Ataku's skin, moved more slowly, more purposefully, as if testing the boundary between caring and something else. Ataku's breath caught. The moment dragged on, weighed down by emotions neither woman wanted to acknowledge. For the first time, Ataku felt attracted to her sister-in-law, an attraction she hadn't realized she had. The intensity of the connection was astonishing. Ataku gently but firmly pushed her foot back. "That's enough, Ifoma." "Thank you," she said, her voice flat but detached. Ifoma raised her head, her hands frozen in the air, as if she had been brought out of a trance. "Of course, Mommy," she said, confusion flashing in her voice. She stood up quickly, and the room suddenly seemed smaller and the air heavier. Ataku watched her leave the room, and her thoughts raced. She had always prided herself on her moral compass, her sense of right and wrong. But in that fleeting moment, something had crossed an invisible line. She told herself it was just fatigue, maybe a misinterpretation, but deep down, she knew the truth. That moment was real, and the temptation lingered long after Athelma had hidden upstairs. For the rest of their stay in the house, Ataku kept her distance, trying not to let their communication slip back into such intimacy. Athelma, too, seemed more cautious, more reserved, as if they had silently agreed never to speak of that night. When Ataku finally left, she put her arms around Ifeoma. Their bodies tensed, and she whispered, "Take care." Ifeoma nodded, but when they pulled away from each other, their eyes met again, this time filled with an understanding of the boundaries crossed and the weight of unspoken temptation. Neither of them would forget that evening, when a simple gesture of caring turned into something neither of them could fully explain. The silence between them became even louder than before, and the boundary they crossed will remain a quiet secret shared between two women trying to understand what it means to have such deep feelings for another.